Good, good afternoon, everyone.
Can you hear us, Earl?
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Are you out of the screen, Dr. Fling? Okay. Hello. Hello. So, do you want me to go ahead and get started?
Everyone, this is Mr. Earl Brown, our guest speaker today. And he has a really great sort of backstory, and he did go to GMC. He took this very class, just like you're taking now. And he has some cool things to talk to you about today. I'm gonna unmute us so that we're not distracting, and then we can unmute later.
Okay.
Ask questions.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you, Dr. Fling, for allowing me to come in and speak to your students today. And I want to thank Dr. Jenny Zepperer, who was the former institutional dean of students and the director of staff. She's now over at Mercer University. She was my teacher. Well, she was one of my professors when I was at GMC over 10 years ago. And I also want to thank Dr. Tiffany Bain, Mr. Craig Portwood, and Professor Lauren Tucker. Without them, this wouldn't be possible today. And I want to start by saying, repeating the slogan, start here, go anywhere. I'm not sure how long that's been a slogan at GMC. However, I wasn't focused when I was spending my time at GMC. So I didn't pay attention to those things. But I am a firm believer that you can start here at GMC and go anywhere. And as I look back on my life story, I can firmly agree that GMC got me to where I'm at today. I know Dr. Fling introduced me, but again, my name is Earl Brown. I am a graduate of GMC Junior College in 2013, where I majored in criminal justice. I'm from a small town, 30 minutes south of here, in Washington County. I graduated from Washington County in 2007, and I ended up at GMC a few years later. Today, I want to talk to you all about something that I've learned throughout my journey. And the frustrating thing that I've learned, the thing I'm frustrated most about is how social media is robbing individuals of their joy and their happiness, and it's ultimately leading to mental health issues such as depression and low self-esteem. And I started thinking about when I was in GMC, I was not focused on doing the right thing at GMC so much. I was always focused on where I'm going to next. Am I going to UGA? Am I going to Georgia Tech? Am I going to a school out of the state? But what I end up doing was I ended up dropping out of school, out of GMC. And it wasn't something I wanted to do. Actually, I never planned on going to GMC, actually. I transferred to GMC in 2008 after leaving ABAC. That's Abraham Baldwin Agriculture College down in Tifton, Georgia. And the only reason I came to GMC is because the basketball program down at ABAC was discontinued. And when it was discontinued, I was trying to scramble to see what Division I school I'm gonna transfer to so I could play basketball. That's all I wanted to do. But because it was so late in the semester it was so late in the summer that I had no choice but to go to GMC because we was on a quarter system, and so we started in September. And when I got to GMC, I'm gonna be honest with you all, I was not fond of it. I was embarrassed that I was at GMC. I felt like I should have been playing Division I football or basketball somewhere. So even though I was at GMC, my mind was focused on my next step. Like, how soon can I get up out of this place and go to go to a bigger school. And I know that a lot of y'all, I see that you're still in uniform. I'm not sure who are cadets or who getting ready to go to West Point or who are, oh, I see two guys, I see two guys in the back. Three, oh, I see a young lady in the front. I see a few of y'all. Well, as I said in the beginning, you start here, you can go anywhere. I didn't go that route, nor did I play football at GMC. But I can honestly say if you can start at GMC and go anywhere you want in your life. And the formula that I end up finding out to be the secret to success in life is very simple. The first step, the first step is resilience. When I was at GMC, I probably would have left and went to a larger school if certain things in my life didn't go the way it did. When I enrolled in the school in the fall of 2008, I had a classmate who died in a car accident, and we had just graduated last year. So when he died, I was I was in a dark space, but I didn't get a chance to heal from that because the following year, my parents, not I'm sorry, not my parents, my family members started dying in pairs. It was the weirdest thing ever. One person would die on a Monday. We had a funeral that Saturday. My uncle spoke at my grandmother's funeral, and that following Monday, he was dead. And it happened probably from January to March of 2009. And I was just all over the place. I didn't know what I wanted to do because I didn't know much about mental health or or just dealing with my emotions at all. So I decided to drop out of college. Um, when I dropped out of college, I didn't drop all the way out. I took maybe one class, but mentally I was done with college. But I took one class, honestly, to keep it getting a refund because I had a full-time job that only paid me $7.25 an hour. So I did use the student refund check to be a source of income for me. And finally, I failed that class and was put on academic exposure. Um, at that time, I told myself I'm done with college. It's not for me. It's not. I don't think you have to be. You don't have to go to college in order to be successful. Um, but my grandmother ended up being the last person to die that was close to me later on that year of 2009, and I told myself I got to figure something out because staying here in my small town in Washington County, I'm constantly reminded of my friends and my family members who died. And if I don't figure out what I'm gonna do with my life, I'm gonna end up dying as well. Not dying due to, I wasn't thinking about tragic accidents or natural causes. I thought that I was just gonna be dying because I didn't have a purpose in life. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. And I finally started saving my money from my minimum wage job and started taking one class at a time to get back academically eligible. When that happened, I started getting a little momentum, and I ended up becoming a full-time student. By that time, I decided, okay, I know I want to help people because I was in a dark place. I don't want people to feel this way, so I want to help others out. And I started meeting professors like the one you have, Dr. Fling. She wasn't my professor. For my PR class, there was a professor, Miss Judy. I don't know if she's still around, but she was my professor there. Um, and she taught me so much about life, not just her direct teachings, but just the books and material that she had us to read. If any of you want to do yourself a favor, I recommend you all reading the book, The Four Agreements. The Four Agreements are one of the best books I ever read in my life. And and pretty much what it talks about is number one, don't take anything personally in life. Number two, don't make any assumption. Number three, um, I think always work hard. And number four, to live with a purpose. But the four agreements were introduced to me at GMC. And by the time I accepted that information, I learned more. I started doing more activities on campus. I would stay after school and just hang around with the football players because they was a part of the cadet program as well. And I just started learning how to be disciplined. Of course, all of my friends that played football after school every day they had bull ring. Bull ring, bull ring. That's all we talk about every day. I don't know if y'all still do it as much these days, but I saw it a lot. I saw it a lot when I was there. But it taught me discipline because when I had these conversations with my peers, they would talk about how yeah they didn't like it, but it helped them so they don't have to make a bad decision again. And from there, I started learning. Okay, I need to be a person of dignity, character, have integrity. Pretty much what the mission state for the honor code for GMC. I will not lie, steal, or cheat, nor tolerate those who do. And once I started learning all these different traits and characteristics to instill in my life took off. And I started building relationships with one of my professors, Dr. Jenny Zipper. I mentioned her earlier. She's no longer at GMC. She's now the dean of Mercer Law School, I think. But she introduced me to taking a political science course. And from there, I told myself, I'm going to major in criminal justice here at GMC. I'm going to go get a political science degree, and then I'm going to go off to law school. And my goal was to be an international lawyer for the United Nations, and I wanted to work in Geneva, Switzerland. And I'm going to tell you now, that didn't come true. That didn't come true. I don't even have a passport, so I can't get to Geneva. But her building a relationship with her, she started showing me what's possible. And I started exploring new options. And by the time I graduated in 2013, I decided to go next door to Georgia College, where I graduated in 2015. I did well there. And I still kind of wanted to go to law school, but then I started looking at the cost of law school, and it was going to be around 100,000. So I was like, that's probably not the best decision for me to make right now. But the next thing I decided to do after graduation, I entered the work field. The workforce. I started working as a correctional officer at Baldwin State Prison. There, I learned a lot about mental health. I learned a lot about trauma and how what you experience as a child or young adult, if you don't get healed or build the right relationship, you can make one. All it takes is one bad decision, and you can end up in prison. And that made me want to get into more human services type roles. So I left Georgia, moved to a place that I never thought I'll live in, Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't know if any of y'all from Nebraska, but I moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, and it was a cultural shock. It was it was a phenomenal experience. And to survive there, I used some of the skills and some of the information I learned while I was at GMC um, to navigate through those times. Because when I got to Nebraska, I was homeless for my first 3 months there, but I understood how to be resilient because during my time at GMC, I told you I kept losing all my family members. And GMC was like a family to me. That's why I went back to school because it was something I had to look forward to. And I built relationships at GMC. So when I was homeless in Nebraska, I leaned back on a lot of relationships that I had while I was at GMC. I called them. I didn't ask for any financial resources, but I just needed somebody to talk to. I didn't share that I was homeless. I just needed somebody to talk to let me know that I just need to keep going. And ultimately, things turned around. I ended up getting an apartment and being able to have a successful career until I got a promotion where I moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And again, those same church. Oh, you from Milwaukee? I didn't like Milwaukee as much as I love Lincoln, Nebraska. Um, but it was a nice place. It definitely was a nice place, and I do enjoy it. Um, but all I'm saying to you all, GMC, when you say you start from here and go anywhere, GMC gave me a foundation to really go to Lincoln, Nebraska, to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I ended up moving out to Seattle, Washington, where I had a phenomenal job. Seattle has been one of the best places I lived because it reminded me of GMC. Because there, I was able to build healthy relationships. I was able to make a lot of connections, and a lot of people know about GMC. When I was there, I never talked about GMC. I've always told people when I was at GMC, I would lie to my friends and say I go to Georgia College. I go to Georgia College because I didn't value GMC as much as I do now. I didn't even put GMC on my college resume, well on my resume when I applied for jobs. But when I look back 10 years plus ago now, I owe GMC everything. GMC is why I have the results that I have today in life. And now that I live in Bloomington, Minnesota, my wife and I are able to do a lot of things out of integrity and character, all because of some of the things that I saw during my time at GMC. And what I want to tell you all that if you really want to be successful in life, whatever you're going through or whatever you're going to endure in the future, don't play the victim role. Just use that as an opportunity to tell yourself, I need to be resilient. The next thing I want you to do while you're being resilient, I want you to call on your peers, your family members, whoever you have great relationships with, lean on those relationships. I can give you an example. In 2021, my wife and I was expecting our first child, and I became unemployed earlier that year. And around October of 2021, my wife had a miscarriage, and I would I was unemployed. I would have to try to go out and find like meaningless jobs just to keep income coming in. And every single day, I would have to come home and just take care of her because she was in a dark place. And the only reason I didn't go into a dark place or I didn't show the world that I was in a dark place is because I remember my time at GMC when I had to be resilient. So once you learn how to be resilient, it doesn't get easier, but you'll know that it's required to really get through. And you know that that dark storm is not going to always be there. But fast forward to September 7th last year, she gave birth to our 1 year old. Well, she gave birth to our first son, he'll be 5 months next month. And it's just been an amazing journey. That's why I tell people all the time, you have to be resilient and you got to have some healthy relationships because when I look at what made me think a lot about relationships as it pertains to my family, when we came back home to Georgia for our baby shower, her so many family and friends gave us gifts and just things for our baby that we didn't have to purchase. As I mentioned, my son is about to be 5 years old. My wife and I we probably haven't spent $200 on our son because the relationships that we built And between our family members and our friends and the people we went to college with, they took care of us in a time that we really needed their help and their support. So relationships are very important in life. And in order to, and the last piece to the formula of success, you got resilience plus relationships equals results. The results looks like this. When I moved to Washington State, of course I didn't know anybody. The only thing I knew how to do was play basketball. And I would go to I would go play basketball every day, every Saturday, every Sunday. And I got invited to this gym that is invitation only. And an older gentleman, just off of playing basketball, he stopped me and asked me, he said, Earl, what do you want to do in your life? And I was like, what kind of question is that? I'm here to play basketball. I'm not here to share those kind of stories with you. But he sent me a text message out of the blue, and I'm gonna see if I can share it with you all. I don't know if you'll be able to read it. Let me know if y'all can read it. Are y'all able to see this message? Or do I need to make it bigger? That's good. So this is a message that made me think about GMC. That's why even though I took out student loans during my time at GMC, I I I owe GMC so much than what I paid for my education. Because I didn't learn how to read books. I didn't learn how to do assignments. I learned a lot about life at GMC. And I owe it. I owe GMC everything. And I hope that you all take the time and really be grateful of your time at GMC, because there's gonna come a time in your life where you have to lean on your friends that are in the classroom with you. I saw that a few people raised their hands saying they're going off to different branches of the military. I love it, but I want you all to remember that your relationships are gonna get you in a lot of doors and help you out along the way a lot more than a lot more than things that social media shows you. The money, cars, clothes, private jet, those things are not important. They're probably fun, but the things that you're gonna need the most is relationships. Once you become resilient, I want you all to really lean in on your relationship. I can't stress that enough. And I wanna I'm gonna stop speaking. But I do want to thank you all for allowing me to share my story with you all. I know I wish I was there in person with you all, because it's 10 degrees in Minnesota, and I'm sure it's not as cold down south. So hopefully next time I can come speak in person. But I do want to open the floor up and answer any questions, because the formula that I found out to be the secret to success, resiliency, relationships, gonna equal results. That those three things transfer in any career field, no matter where you're going. And again, you're at GMC, you start there and go anywhere. I thank you all.
Hey, who has questions?
Is that the baby in the reflection? Is that your baby?
Oh, y'all can see that? So
Yeah.
my wife just came downstairs, and she might as well come now. She's being nosy. Come out. Oh man. Yes, they can see. Come around. Come around.
support from us.
Oh.
Hi, everyone.
So this is Grayson.
That's. I
I didn't know you could see that.
Yeah.